Hey, thank you everyone for joining our session here. My name is Neal Haraguchi, and I'm an account executive with Lucidworks. It's our pleasure to have Rick Lockwood from CDW joining us today to talk about his journey with search and in e-commerce, especially going from B2C to B2B. So Rick, thank you very much for joining us today, and perhaps we could start, if you could just introduce your role at CDW.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me, Neal. So Rick Lockwood, I've been involved in e-commerce, both in B2C and B2B, for about 20 years now. I started my career at Crate and Barrel, and have worked on several other B2C consumer sites, including Sears, and then switched over to B2B at Grainger, and now at CDW. And CDW is one of the leading providers of technology products, services, and solutions. So we carry just over 500,000 items on the website, with thousands of categories and a complex taxonomy. So it makes finding products very difficult. And that's kind of what I've specialized in for at least the last 15 years in search.
Cool. Excellent. With your experience, I think you have alluded to right here that the e-commerce space has evolved quite a lot across the roles. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those early milestones were like in e-commerce, and perhaps how e-commerce has evolved or how you've seen it evolve?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, going back to 20 years ago, certainly bandwidth was a big constraint for us. I remember seeing reports of, how many of our customers were making the move to broadband and how many were still on a dial-up modem. So that speed was something that was important. Even switching from, black and white photos to color increased that bandwidth. So, it was fun back then, but we still had people who were shy about giving credit cards to the on the web. And to show you, we still have a functionality on CDW right now where you can call in to finish an order that you started online, or even fax over an order. So that shows you that we've come a long way, but still have some of those old processes in place.
Okay, excellent. You clearly have some experience with B2C commerce or B2C search, and then now you're at CDW. You're working in the B2B space. What overlaps between the two? And then I guess the second part of that question is, where is maybe B2B different than B2C search?
Sure. I think a lot of it. A lot of those experiences from B2C bleed over and sort of lead the way. Even the ability to have a taxonomy that's deeper than 3 levels, or to be able to ship orders to multiple locations. Those are some of the easy things that people expect. Saving an address book, having the ability to do easy order tracking and returns. They all want that sort of easy experience that they deal with in their own lives of buying products. So I think that's one of the ways that B2C sort of leads us and leads the customer expectations. In the B2B space, it's interesting because the majority of our customers are on a contract, and some they have to buy from us. So a lot of times we've got to offer. We have thousands, if not millions, of different price variants and custom pricing. We need to offer custom catalogs to some of our customers who only want to buy specific brands, products that were made in a specific country, or even products that were made by people with disabilities. We have to be able to offer that easy findability on the website, and it's not as easy as just putting in a keyword to find it. So those are some of the customizations that our customers demand before they'll sign a contract from us.
Okay. So then maybe we segue a little bit to your current role at CDW, and then also the use of Fusion. So could you elaborate a little bit about how CDW uses Fusion today?
Sure. Yeah. Originally, Fusion was just brought in to replace a kind of aging Endeca instance that we had on the site. Like most people who started their websites, and Endeca was kind of king of the hill. But it became a little bit outdated, and Lucidworks came in to just replace that sort of search, keyword, browsability, findability on the website. So we use it to power our CDW.com experience. We also have other sites for CDW Canada, and then we have a government website that is exclusive to our government contracts for them to purchase from. So that has expanded though, and we were even able to add content search. So we have a site, part of the site that we call Research Hub, that has articles, and that's kind of replaced our blog.cdw.com site that we have.
So then, can you elaborate a little bit about how Fusion is helping CDW, or where perhaps you've seen Fusion has been able to have a business impact for CDW?
Sure. Yeah, I think one of the turning points, sort of in search, after the Endeca era, was kind of using the customer interactions to influence future searches. And Lucidworks does that through the signals capability, and that was something that immediately, sort of out of the gates, was able to beat the Endeca product. Now, collecting those signals also made it easy for us to create a new type ahead experience on the site that we created within the last year. And again, sort of, out of the gate, we were able to use that signals data to make sure we were showing relevant query suggestions in the type ahead. So it has expanded beyond the original product search that we brought it in for initially.
Okay. So you alluded to a couple, key projects that have recently either completed or have been ongoing. I mean, what is upcoming for CDW, and I guess in particular for this audience? I mean, how do you envision what the future looks like for Fusion at CDW?
Sure. It really all kind of piggybacks onto that signals collection and the customer interactions that they're giving us with every search. So how do we pay attention to those and exploit that even farther, sort of beyond just boosting or burying a product? How do we reorder facets? How do we bring category facets, other useful attributes to the top of the search page that may be more helpful? So for example, if you're searching for a monitor, we may know that, hey, most of our customers get right in and filter by the size of the monitor or the brand of the monitor. So how do we bring that into the beginning of the search and make it easier for them to refine? Because we know they're twice as likely to add to cart to find the product if they do use those refinements. So
excellent. So if we kind of review and we look at actually all the aspects that you've spoken about today, I mean, it kind of seems like B2C a little bit drives the progress for online search. Do you see any cases where B2B is more of a leader, and perhaps where B2B is ahead of B2C?
Sure. Yeah, I do think it's in the customizations for our customers. In the B2C world, the worst that could happen if a customer doesn't find the product is they go to one of your competitors and find the product. And that's really not an option, here at CDW, because they are locked in through contracts. And when I look at our metrics, I wonder, why aren't they 100%, right? Why haven't our customers found every product and added it to cart? Because they have a problem, and we can we can solve it for them. They're not there to browse, right? And so they come with a lot of demands. They may want stipends on certain categories that we may give them, right? Special pricing on certain categories. And again, if we go back to that, custom catalog where they only want to buy from a sliver of our overall, 500,000 items, we've got to provide that to them, as well as providing checks and balances. One employee can only spend $500 per order. One can spend $1,000 per order, and we need, approval processes built into the buying funnel to make that happen. So it's more than just collecting an address and shipping something out in B2B.
Okay, excellent. I mean, that's a really good point that I don't think is always obvious, especially for those that aren't in the B2B space all the time. I guess that just to wrap things up here, Rick, I mean, is there anything, one thing that you'd like the audience to either take away, or anything that you'd like to bring up as a final point in regards to Fusion at CDW?
It's interesting. I sometimes will get the question of like, well, how much revenue can that provide, or how much revenue is tied to a particular feature? And I'm a little bit biased, but certainly in that searchability and findability, it's kind of like, if you don't have it, you don't get any of the revenue, right? That process of finding a product, narrowing down to exactly what you need, is the cornerstone of any website. I've been involved and kind of sucked into this search space for the last 15 years at least, because it is sort of the unsolvable problem that continually evolves every day. There's new keywords, there's new product lines, there's new taxonomy. So it's a constantly moving target for us.
Awesome. Well, Rick, we appreciate you taking some time here today and sharing a lot of your experiences and observations for e-commerce, both B2C and B2B. So thank you for sharing that with us today. That'll wrap up this session. So for all of our attendees, thank you for joining, and please enjoy the rest of your day at Activate 2022.